Welcome to the Unedited podcast, a Star Wars-centric podcast which aims to connect us fans to our fandom. Each episode, we discuss recent shows, movies, and what's new in books, comics, and gaming. We share our favorite theories and touch on our collectible hobbies, all in an effort to connect the galaxy far, far away to our own.
Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of the Unedited podcast. I am your host, Obi-Sean Kenobi, and I'm joined by my other co-host.
Yeah, Jedi John, right here. Coming to you, not live, it won't be live when you hear it, but from the Jedi Temple. Excited to start this wonderful installment for another Star Wars podcast of greatness.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be fun just getting to talk about, a topic that we're both really passionate about, and consumes more of our lives probably than our wives would like us to.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting in a room full of action figures, and my wife still is with me, so I'm really excited about that. It's an accomplishment.
So we've introduced ourselves. So the podcast, this is your first listening to it. I mean, it's just a fun podcast to talk about Star Wars. I mean, that's really all it is.
We're going to cover up all of the weekly stuff that is coming out. We figured what a better time than right now. We've got May the 4th next week, along with Bad Batch coming out. So we figured, hey, what a time to start. We've got brand new content to cover every week going forward for a little while, and more greatness later this year also. Yeah, the next, 2 or 3 years is just going to be jammed full of great content, both on TV and in movies. And then you've got, the comics and print and, I know there's a new book that just came out today. Timothy Zahn just released his next 2 installments of the Thrawn saga. Now it's not even really a trilogy anymore because there's more than trilogy, but now there's more than 3 books. But yeah, I mean, basically this is a home for Star Wars fans to celebrate their fandom, to listen to a couple guys' opinions and theories, recollections, memories, that sort of stuff. Yeah, we should have a lot of fun. Every episode's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. So one of the things I wanted to do to just kind of get you into who we are, one of the things that us as fans can always remember is our first memory with Star Wars. What got us into Star Wars, and kind of where we are now. So I'm going to let John take the first sharing, the inaugural memory share. It's not that exciting. I mean, I was real young, still probably 3 years old, probably just before preschool kicked in, so 3 or 4 years old. And it was, honestly, my dad sat me down with him and watched the original trilogy on VHS. He pulled the classic VHS series, like the bundle deluxe package or whatever, and pulled them out and we watched them. And at that time, my brother was still a toddler. My older sister had probably already seen them, I think, but it was just a cool thing for me and Dad just to sit down and watch and kill a day during a weekend with. And from there it's just grown from there. I mean, really grown. We are surrounded by the growth. Yeah. We'll go into what we're looking at right now. The Jedi Temple is just full of action figures, specifically Black Series figures and some Funko Pops, but hundreds of Black Series figures surround us while we're recording this, along with some Lego and some of the old banks, and just a lot of characters that I've loved over the years, some new, some old. And it just keeps growing because we keep getting great new content. So I just had a delivery today for the Bad Batch wave for the Black Series figures. So picked up 3 of the Bad Batch figures today already. So only a couple more left that are coming out. Who were in the first? Who came in the first wave? So the first wave was Hunter, Crosshair, and just like a clone, clone trooper. Nothing. No, like the phase 2 kind of storm, stormtroopery, like it's transitioning. Yeah, almost like a death. He almost looks like a death trooper, to be honest. He's that third guy right there on the right there. Got it. Yeah, but he's just like a generic clone trooper, I guess, after Order 60. That's a great question, to be honest.
Is it white or is it the gray one?
It's black.
Oh, it's the black one.
Yeah,
It's like a Shadow Trooper type
Yeah.
thing. Got it.
Yeah, but it's going to be in the new show. I don't think I even saw them in the new show yet. But then the other 3 members of the Bad Batch should be on their way anytime now. I know Wrecker is still on a pre-order. He was a GameStop exclusive, I think. And then you've got Tech that was just put up for pre-order maybe 2 weeks ago during Hasbro's Fan Fest. And then they haven't announced for Echo yet, but I assume we'll get him shortly. I'm hoping that's one of the May the 4th reveals from Hasbro, because there's an event that day, obviously.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So super excited stuff, and I just it just keeps growing. Every week I feel like there's a box that shows up at my door with more figures, and I can't be happier. And every time my wife sees it, she just shakes her head and says, "That's not my package," and I'm like, "Whoops, yep."
And there's no end in sight.
No,
as long as there is Star Wars to be made, there will be toys.
Absolutely.
From the original Kenner back in 77, 78 to Hasbro now.
Yeah. Well, what about you? What's your first Star Wars memory?
So I imagine I have one pre this. I'm sure I watched the movies with my dad, but I don't actually remember that. But what I do remember is in 97, when they re-released the special editions, when they re-released Trilogy as a special edition, January, February, March of 97, we actually went for a friend's birthday party to the old St. Andrew Cinema in St. Charles. So anybody who's familiar with the St. Louis or St. Charles, Missouri area was probably familiar with St. Andrews, and went and watched the special edition, A New Hope, on the big screen. And then subsequently went back in February and March to see Empire and Return of the Jedi. And so from there, 2 years later, the prequels came out, and I vividly remember from there, for Revenge of the Sith, standing actually in line for a real midnight show. I had one of my friend's brothers had stood in line since noon that morning for us to be the 4th or 5th into the theater. And then that's spiraled now into for me. I do a lot of Star Wars Lego collecting, especially the minifigures. So I mean, it's not nearly as expansive as what we're surrounded by here, but it's a modest collection.
You've got some good autographs in there.
I do have some good autographs. I've got a couple Ewan McGregor autographs, and I'm really looking forward to Celebration next August.
Yep.
August of 22, to try and hopefully snag a few more. The further and further we get, obviously, the more worried you are that you won't get some of the older actors to sign some of your stuff. But I'm and then as far as my Lego goes, I've got the 2 largest currently Star Wars Lego sets with the Millennium Falcon and the Imperial Star Destroyer. So those take up an entire 6-foot long table.
They're massive.
They're huge.
I know I have the Imperial Star Destroyer just sitting over there in its shipper box, just still sitting there because I didn't have anywhere to go for it. And looking at my room now, you might even say that I don't have anywhere to go. I might hang it from the ceiling right above us. I don't know yet. It's pretty intense, though.
I think that thing weighs about 25 pounds, so you're going to want to make sure to have some solid anchors into the ceiling.
But that's awesome. And yeah, I mean, my first theater experience was the same as yours, going for the special edition releases. We were obviously, well, not obvious to everybody, but we were not born for the original releases.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it would have been awesome. We would have been those nerds camping out for the new Star Wars movie every couple of years there. But yeah.
Well, it's funny now, Star Wars is cool, I guess you could say, since Disney purchased it and made it mainstream, and you have all the young kids into it, which is great. And, I feel like back when we first got into it, it was a nerdy thing to do. And kind of along the same lines of people who are into Star Trek, we were made fun of. And so now it's fun to see something that, we've been into for 25 years now, finally kind of get some mainstream respect,
Just a little bit.
It's fun to see.
I mean,
it makes it more enjoyable because it is mainstream, we're getting more content. It's just like, we went through that 10-year lull between Sith and Force Awakens, and because it was 05 and 15.
Yep.
And now it's every year we've got multiple
Something.
things coming out.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be great.
And I mean, you saw what the Force Awakens really brought to the theaters. Like, I mean, that movie set records for
It's
Star
huge.
Wars. I mean, any movie until like some of the Marvel movies came out. But yeah, I mean, the Force Awakens was a huge just realization of how many fans are really out there for Star Wars, new and old. So it was really awesome to see.
And so, one of the new things coming out and is going to be all of the discussion this evening is the show coming out next Tuesday for May the 4th, which is The Bad Batch. And so
We thought we would recap when we met them for the first time.
Yeah, so some of you, perhaps many of you who might be listening to this are already well aware of where Clone Force 99 comes from. But those of you who aren't, we'll give you a quick kind of 30-second, maybe a few minute rundown of the 4-episode arc that took us, or that introduced us to them in the last season of the Clone Wars. So it was the first 4 episodes of the 12-episode season. First episode 1, we're introduced to Clone Force 99 during the Battle of Anaxis. And at this time, the Republic is losing ground rapidly to the Separatists because they're basically able to anticipate every move before they make it. And no one's quite sure why. They believe it to be an algorithm, and Commander Cody, along with Captain Rex, ask or recruit Clone Force 99 to help. So the mission for this episode is to infiltrate a cyber center where they believe the algorithm is coming from. And I guess we meet all of them: Hunter, Wrecker, Tech, and Crosshair, and each one of them has a special set of skills.
Yeah, it's I mean, technically it's a mutation, really. I mean, they were all flawed clones, but flawed in the ways that are very beneficial.
Right,
So,
like Wrecker has super strength. Tech is geeky. He's like the hacker.
yeah, he's a techie.
Crosshair has superior marksmanship, and Hunter is like the clone version of Bear Grylls. He's like he's a tracker. He's got heightened senses, and he's got superior hand-to-hand combat skills. So in infiltrating the cyber center, they hack into the Separatist mainframe, only to find that the algorithm is not an actual algorithm. The data itself is coming from a human. And the episode ends by sharing that it's CT-1409, who is also known as Echo.
Yeah, it was lost multiple seasons prior. And so Rex had already previously in the episode said it feels like Echo, because the plans that they were countering were plans that him and Echo had drawn up when they were still together in previous seasons. And Cody was like, you sound crazy. So it was really interesting to not just really foreshadow that it was Echo still alive, because we haven't seen him in multiple seasons, but then for it to end up being him, and just gives that Rex that my instincts were right. I felt it. And
always go with your gut.
Yep, always go with your gut. Really good episode. Really good intro to the Bad Batch, because you really get to see them start working right away. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. And then just one of those things, like their Clone Force 99. If you don't remember this from earlier in the Clone Wars, number 99 was a mutated, a flawed clone that they had still on Kamino, who ended up unfortunately dying during one of the attacks from Separatists, while he was trying to get weapons and protect other clones from battle. So he still died a warrior, even though he was giving a like non-war job, really, back on Camino.
Right, exactly. And so the signal is coming from a planet called Skako Minor, which is a techno-union planet run by or overseen by Wat Tambor. So that ends episode 1, which was called The Bad Batch. So episode 2 is called A Distant Echo, and the episode begins with the Bad Batch along with Rex and Anakin Skywalker arriving at Skako Minor, and basically introducing themselves quickly to the locals. Anakin is abducted by what we later learn in one of the future episodes as a Caradoc, and taken back to the village, basically, of these local people, the Poltecs, and after a quick skirmish, tensions are reduced, and they explain why they're there. They're there to find the city of Perkol, which is where the signal for Echo was coming from. So the Poltecs decide to let them use some of their scouts, and with their help, they locate the city. It's made of these huge towers. It's almost kind of got like a Cloud City Bespin vibe once they go high enough because you're above the clouds. But this is where Wat Tambor is holding Echo in stasis, and basically using his brain as a computer, and so they are able to track Echo's signal every time he sends data, and they're able to locate him. They find him in stasis, and he's basically become a cyborg.
Yeah, he looks like something out of the Matrix. Like he looks like Neo, like when he's not in the Matrix. Like
for
he's
sure,
got all the different injection sites or connections, basically, is what it is.
All the hose hookups.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's again one of those things that we didn't expect to see. If they had him captive, it would have been something. But I guess you're dealing with a droid army. What do they know how to make? Robots. So they created one out of a clone, really.
Yeah, and his right hand is missing, and it's been replaced with an IO like uplink jack that you see on droids like R2. And so the episode ends basically with the Bad Batch being surrounded or about to be surrounded outside of this room, and them unplugging Echo. And Echo looks up at Rex and says, "You came back for me," and he goes, and he basically says, "Yep, I sure did." So that's where the episode ends, and episode 3 picks up right where episode 2 leaves off, and that episode 3 is called "On the Wings of Caradoc." So they find themselves surrounded. They barricade themselves in this room, and fortunately, because Echo has been plugged into the Separatist mainframe for so long, he's downloaded all of their schematics and all that stuff, and so he helps everyone escape up the exhaust shaft into the cooling system.
Because he's got all the data files, so he knows the map, basically.
He knows everything. And so they climb up the exhaust shaft. They're trying to escape. They end up on this long beam connecting two of the large towers, presumably thousands of feet in the air. Unfortunately, Tech, on his feet, plays the distress call of the winged creatures that had taken Anakin in the previous episode. And out of nowhere, summons 6 or 7 of these winged creatures,
the
Caradocs, to basically ride back to the village. So they're followed back by some of the droids, and a battle occurs.
Boy, those locals are not very happy about it either.
No, they were very upset that the war got brought to their people, and so and actually in the episode, when Wat Tambor sends the droids, very reminiscent of the Wicked Witch of the West, sending the flying monkeys off to get Dorothy and everything. So he's sending the droids off to get Echo, because it's their experiment. He's their battle piece,
and he's that valuable,
right?
I mean, he's given them countless wins at this point of counter maneuvers to beat the Republic's strategy.
Right, exactly. So after a battle in the village, taking down two spider walker looking things, they kind of look like the robots out of War of the Worlds, but with the help of Anakin and the Bad Batch, they're able to take both down and basically fend off all the droids from the village. The episode ends with the chief telling Anakin that the Jedi will always have a friend on Skako Minor.
Yeah, that won't go well later. But, short-lived.
Right.
Short-lived.
So the last episode 4 of the four episode arc, is called Unfinished Business. The Bad Batch, along with Echo, arrive back on an axis where the Republic is still getting beaten real bad.
Mace Windu just doesn't know what to do.
He doesn't. And so Echo puts forth a plan that they should use him to basically uplink to the Separatist computer again, and this time give them bad information, give them the opposite of what would help them win. And to do this, they have to go to the Separatist dreadnought, which is orbiting the planet, which is helmed by Admiral Trench, who is the coolest looking tarantula.
He is cool looking.
Villain.
I mean, he's got everything. Everything you would want in a villain for a cartoon show. Yeah.
Yeah. So they using a cloaking. Well, yeah. Echo uses a message to send to the droid ship, which basically cloaks their shuttle, very similar to what is done in Return of the Jedi, where they use the old code to come across as a freighter.
Yeah, it's an old code, sir, but it checks out.
So they find themselves on the ship. Echo's able to plug in and basically tells Trench to send all of his droids to the assembly facility, which is where the Jedi and all the clones are. And in doing so, gets all the droids in one place, and he fries their circuitry. He overloads them, basically. So they think battle won, awesome, wonderful. We can go home happy. Nope, not so fast, my friend. Admiral Trench has placed a bomb in the nuclear core. And it's got a really cool 7-digit, sequence code. We were all really good at sequence as children, right? And so Echo's able to get the first 6 numbers, but unfortunately the core is overloaded and basically electrocutes Echo before he can get the 7th number. Fortunately, Anakin Skywalker is with them, well on his way to becoming Darth Vader, and using
at that point, yeah,
right, and using some aggressive negotiation tactics with Admiral Trench, gets him to give up the 7th number. They're able to defuse the bomb, after which Trench cattle prods Anakin. That
went well for him.
It did not go well. Spoiler alert. Anakin quickly stabs him in the chest with his lightsaber, and they make their escape, but not before Wrecker gets to blow something up finally, which, if you've seen the trailer, is all Wrecker seems to want to do, is blow something up.
What's wrong with that? He likes explosives and he likes to pick shit up.
Exactly. So he gets to blow up the dreadnought, and they along with every other ship that's nearby, and they make it back down to the planet, and at this point, Echo realizes that he's as much a misfit as the Bad Batch see themselves, and they've extended an invite to him, and he takes them up on it.
Yeah, he accepts it, and I think Rex understood, Cody understood, everybody just kind of was like, well, it makes sense, because at this point, you are different. So, which is good, and which sets up the series that we're about to talk about now, some theories for the Bad Batch. We got a trailer to talk about, and some quick theories. I know a lot of people have theories about a lot of stuff there, so I can't wait to dive into them. So the trailer, I mean, wow. First of all, you got Captain Rex back, which is expected. I mean, this series takes place almost directly after the Bad Batch I mean, it's hard to tell exactly from the trailer if it takes place directly after where we left off with them from the Clone Wars series, or if it's after Order 66 completely. So we'll see when we actually catch up with them. But all of the Bad Batch are there, including Echo. So we know that. But Captain Rex is back, and he's shown escorting the Bad Batch and a new character who we just found out his name was Omega a couple weeks ago. Well, I guess a month and a half ago.
Yeah, about 6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks ago when the trailer dropped.
Yeah, found out that we met a new character, Omega, and then going over to a downed Venator ship. So there's everything in this trailer. I mean,
it starts off with Tarkin.
Yeah,
overseeing them, the Bad Batch as a training exercise, and
you get to see the Bad Batch just tearing apart everything.
Right,
like it's not even fair what they're. I mean, it's not even fair.
Yeah, and I think Tarkin knows that these guys would be useful if they could be controlled, but he learns quickly that, or the trailer would seem to indicate that he learns quickly that they can't be controlled.
Yeah, I think the inhibitor ships on those particular clones are not working.
A bit faulty.
Yeah, a bit faulty. Yeah.
So then it cuts to there's a chase scene which is actually intercut a couple times throughout the trailer. We later learn between Hunter and Fennec Shand, who we'll talk about a little bit later. And it's fun. That scene is very reminiscent of the Zam Wessel, Obi and Annie chase through the Coruscant underworld in Attack of the Clones. The speeder even has the same sound as the ships in that scene.
That's cool to see Fennec. I mean, I know we're going to get into her, but like,
27. What is it?
It should be about
27 years before we meet her in The Mandalorian. So she's either quite old in The Mandalorian or she's very young in The Bad Batch. And so, but yeah, there's actually a couple scenes that have the Venators in it. So it'll be interesting to see. The one scene almost looks like a kind of like an Imperial. I don't know if it's an Imperial scrapyard or if it's just the site of a previous battle. But it seems there's a number of ships in this area, and so it's not quite like Braca. For those of you who play Jedi Fallen Order. But there's far too many ships in one spot to be an accident. So it'll be interesting to see what that area is that Rex takes them to. But it's clearly later in the season because Omega is with them. We've got what else?
I do want to just stick on Fennec Shand for 1 second because we really don't know how old she technically is in the Star Wars universe, right? But Ming-Na Wen is like 57 years old as an actress, which is crazy because she looks great.
She doesn't look it.
She looks great for a 57-year-old. But seeing her in her younger self, which, 27 years before, so she's early 20s maybe, depending on how this show wants to have her age-wise. But yeah, mid-20s, late 20s, somewhere in there. Really awesome stuff.
But yeah, so then there's a scene of them, blowing up maybe a bunker. It's hard to tell, but it appears to be surrounded, or there's a number of sort of those P2 clone troopers who kind of look like they're transitioning to be stormtroopers. I mean, you may as well call them stormtroopers, at this point.
Yep.
Now that the Galactic Empire is a thing, and then it transitions to us meeting Omega, who then proceeds to go through all 5 of the Bad Batch characters, basically introducing us to them again. Each one of them has a cool little scene of showing kind of their skills, and so because
they have to make this for somebody that may not have watched the Clone Wars,
right? Exactly. So my favorite part of that sort of exchange is Wrecker's, where again he wants to blow something up, and he ends up blowing up what looks like the ion engine of a downed Venator ship. So I don't know if it's the same Venator we see when that they're visiting with Rex, or if these are two totally separate Venator class ships.
Yeah.
It would be strange that they would run into two.
I mean, you never know. They might be just dropping like flies.
It would just falling out of the sky.
Yeah, all of them. Just all of them.
So then it cuts to Tarkin, basically telling someone that he wants Clone Force 99 found and wiped out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, it wraps it up.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera is there. I don't know what Saw's going to do. It'd be interesting to see.
I mean, this is happening, what?
So we last saw him
15 years before we last see him in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 18 years, I guess, before we last see him in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's got some time to make some trouble for the Rebel Alliance and the Empire, that is.
Well, and the next time we see him, after this, I guess you would say we see him in Jedi Fallen Order, because that's 5 years post Order 66, when he frees the Wookiees on Kashyyyk.
He's being helpful there.
He is, and in the trailer, he's got two of his, looks like guerrilla warriors maybe with him, or rebels, I guess you might call them. I read something online today that said Filoni always, I guess, has said that Saw Gerrera was the original rebel, and basically out of him was born, in essence, the Rebel Alliance, or what is known as the Rebellion.
Yeah, he might be a little more extreme than some of them, but I guess the
Perhaps.
most extreme person is the one that starts it, usually. Starts the movement.
I mean, I bet if you ask the Empire if the rebels were extremists, I bet they would agree with that.
I think so. I think we saw that with the in the Mandalorian. Actually, I mean, you got to see that other side of the Empire where he's like, there were good men that died, but all for the greater prosperity of the Empire.
Right. So the trailer. I mean, the trailer gives us a bunch of stuff. It gives us some things. It leaves a lot of questions on others. And so I think it would be fun to kind of speculate on some of the things that, unless you want to talk more about that.
Just before we get too far, I mean, so I love that the Bad Batch was originally an idea for George still when he was involved. I think that's super important that Filoni didn't just pull these guys out of nowhere just to create them. They were originally slated to be in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, as a special division, but everyone decided that it was going to make it too long and drawn out, which, if anyone else thought that the Attack of the Clones was long and drawn out for other reasons, you can, speak up. Because we all know, I hate sand. It's the worst.
It is the worst. It's coarse and it's rough and gets everywhere. Man, some of the lines of those movies. Anyway, the writing was not good.
But so they shelved the deformed clones, or mutated clones, I guess you could say, flawed clones. I think we're going with, right? He just didn't get back to it, which he didn't have a reason to until the Clone Wars was created, and they were still on the shelf until Filoni brought them out in season 7. And I know Filoni wants to include George in some of it, but there's only so much he can do at this point. But it still will feel like the Clone Wars, which will be great. Because if you haven't watched the Clone Wars at all, and you don't have time for the whole series, I get it. May the 4th is right around the corner here. So watch those first 4 episodes, catch up on the Bad Batch, meet them. You're going to get hooked in the show, and then you can skip a few episodes.
Skipped episode 9.
And skipped episode 9 and catch the last arc. The middle arc was good. It gave you some growth out of Ahsoka because she sees the other side of the ball, but and the other side of what people view the Jedi as, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, the really good action for people that, let's say you just watch the movies, they're really, and you're excited for Bad Batch because it's new on Disney Plus, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch it because it's brand new. Go watch the first 4 episodes of season 7, and then the last 4 episodes of season 7, and you will be like, I probably need to find time to watch the rest of this. I just don't have time right now. So, really great stuff, and excited to see where the Bad Batch takes us. Which,
yeah, I mean, the Siege of Mandalore, those last 4 episodes of season 7, where it's almost hard to believe it's animated. Like the cinematography, they use mocap for it. It's
and that was only the beginning of the siege.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't even the whole thing, because then you get to leave the clone troopers there that turn Order 66. So they already have a presence on Mandalore, and then they are reinforced later. So really crazy stuff. The Siege of Mandalore. Yeah.
There's so much lore stuff. There's so much history that you could just dive down a rabbit hole and talk about for ages. But we won't do that here. At least not this episode.
time.
At least not this episode.
Not specifically about that.
Right.
But we'll catch into some of our theories for the Bad Batch. I don't know where you want to start. I know.
Well, I have a couple of mine, although you completely squashed one of them.
I apologize
earlier,
for that.
but that's okay. That is fine. So we'll start with the first one here. So one of the interesting things from the trailer is that one of the Bad Batch members is pretty much
absent,
invisible, save for one scene, and it's a short, 10-second blip, and that's Crosshair. He's really only seen during the introduction to Omega's introduction of the team. In the later scenes, like with Rex, Crosshair is missing. The scene where they're escaping from Kamino, Crosshair is not there. So it begs the question: where is Crosshair?
I think he's just up in the hills,
just hanging out,
just sniping. That's what he does.
Just hanging out.
He's a sniper. I mean, come on.
Where do you snipe on Kamino?
You know what? He probably has something. I don't know.
It's rainy and it's covered in ocean.
Well, he could have a raft. I don't know. I'm at the point where for him, I think he's better utilized at a long distance for the team. I mean, obviously up close, we saw him in Clone Wars. Like, he can do a lot of good damage up close also. But I mean, why wouldn't you want some cover fire and some spotting?
I think he defects. Either he defects. There's two things. Either he sacrifices himself for his brothers to escape potentially, or I think he gets turned might not be the right word, but becomes sort of a special forces
for the
Empire.
Yeah.
Basically, maybe he's convinced by Tarkin that he has a wonderful set of skills.
Maybe he's the only one that says yes to the deal.
Correct. So if you do some searching on Crosshair himself, his personality would allow him to do that, because he has kind of a superiority complex. And he believes he certainly believes he's better than a normal stormtrooper.
Yeah, what do they call him? A reg?
A reg.
A reg, yeah.
So I don't think he'd ever allow himself to be, turned into a run-of-the-mill stormtrooper. But if he were to be turned, or I keep saying turned, it's like, converted or recruited, it would be probably in a special forces higher leverage situation, maybe as a like a personal guard or something to either maybe Tarkin or maybe Vader as part of the
selection process.
Well, the old Coruscant Guard that became the shock troopers.
Oh yeah,
the red shock troopers. Fox's battalion that helped him search and hunt down the Jedi after Order 6.
Right.
That sort of stuff. So either that or he sacrificed himself, because I don't know if we're going to see multiple seasons of this.
Yeah, I actually could not find the answer for that, and I looked multiple times, but I'm hoping we get multiple seasons, but I don't know how long it's going to go.
Because it might be like a Rogue One sort of thing where everyone
we know the ending,
or no, well, not in that regard, but or like a Halo Reach, if anybody's played Halo Reach,
Oh, yeah.
where everybody kind of goes out in a blaze of glory, some way.
Each person gets their own scene.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope we get more. Omega would suggest that we might get multiple seasons, because I think there's only 8. Have they even released the number of episodes? Is it 8?
I believe it's 8.
Well, it's probably either 8 or 10.
That makes me feel bad now.
In any case, the you're probably not gonna have enough time in an 8-episode story arc to complete it all. So fingers crossed, there's multiple seasons. But I guess we'll wait and see. So Crosshair Missing is it's an obvious one. It's just
14
episodes. So they could do
at
it all.
least. It'll have at least 14 episodes.
So they could do it all in one season.
Yep.
And the first episode is 70 minutes long.
Yeah, the first episode is on May 4th for 70 minutes, and then we're getting Friday releases after that.
Which is incredible. So I can't wait to see a 70-minute. It's going to be like a mini. It's going to be a mini film.
It says season 1, so I'm guessing we're getting multiple.
Excellent.
Because it's not like mini series. It just says
it's an original
season.
Series, but not a mini
it's
not a
like,
limited series.
Not like WandaVision
or Falcon.
Winter Soldier. Yep.
Right. So that's one, I guess, talking point, one theory
And
to
then
speculate on.
just real quick, we do have the first 3 titles.
Oh.
They announced those. So Aftermath is the first one. I'm guessing that's going to take place
right after Order 66.
Order 66, I would think.
It has to.
The second is coming out on May 7th, which is just a couple days later, same week. Cut and Run, and that puts us on the Friday release schedule for the replacements on the 14th. Yeah.
Cut and Run.
Yeah.
So potentially The Escape.
Thinking that they get
They're
told they're going to get killed,
they're
and then they're like,
escaping.
see ya.
And then replacements. So like the replacement troopers, the scab troopers.
The scabs. Goodness
They're
gracious.
rags.
And of course, you have D. Bradley Baker back as all the clones.
Everyone.
All the clones again.
Which is great. I love D. Bradley Baker.
Ming-Na Wen is voicing Fennec Shand, which is pretty great.
And so, kind of going back quickly to the trailer with Captain Rex. One of these things that would be great to see is potentially if there's some sort of working. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ahsoka. Now, I did see something on the interwebs that said that Ashley Eckstein just wrapped recording. So I'm not entirely sure what exactly she would be recording for that is Star Wars related outside of Ahsoka. So
I would agree with that. I mean, I hope we get to see a little bit of it because at some point Rex has to defect out.
Mm-hmm. Kind of already has by betraying
all
of the clones on the
but they don't know.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Right? So he is technically no chip, but still in line, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, they haven't. That's true. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. So, it's interesting too because there's a couple things again in the trailer that you see, so that gives clues to some of the planets that they'll visit. Like one of them, I think, is going to be Zagaria, which is the slaver planet from the Clone Wars, the ones that actually took Ahsoka hostage or into slavery. They kind of look like cats. They're people, and in the trailer they're seen fighting Hunter with the light whip, and so that is the planet I think that they go to at the end of the trailer. It kind of looks Earth-like. So again, doing some research, I think that's Zagaria.
I'm really curious to see how much of the trailer we get in the first just 2 episodes because it's going to be a 70-minute first episode. Then the second episode comes out 3 days later, and it's the first week of release. So I'm thinking we get a lot of it covered in the first 2 episodes, just because they don't want to give away too much in the trailers.
That would be a lot of stuff to cram into 100 minutes.
I don't know.
I mean, you could. I mean, I guess you could. You could do that.
But yeah. And then the
So, what theory do you have? What like Do you have one that we haven't talked about that you're just gonna?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to talk about the big one that everyone's talking about right now?
You can. I mean, we can start there, or we can.
Who is
Omega?
Omega? Like, who is it? First of all, voice actor or actress has not been mentioned yet. So,
but the subtitles, the foreign language subtitles,
right,
have indicated that it's a she.
It's a she. Yeah. Which is interesting because it looks like she is the speculation right now is she is a clone.
The last clone.
The last clone would be Omega. If you're not familiar, Rex was originally Alpha. Before he was Rex.
I did not know that.
So in the Greek alphabet, for those of you that are unfamiliar with that, Alpha is the beginning, Omega is the end. So this is potentially the last clone from the Django strand, because after he was killed by Mace Windu in Attack of the Clones, they had to stretch his strand of DNA as far as they could, which is why they created some with flaws, because they didn't have the perfect strand cast anymore. It was flawed because they were stretching the DNA. So they had to find a new host at some point, and well, if you know anything about the rest of the Empire, they eventually went to human recruits for stormtroopers and not clones. So I'm curious to see if we see the end of the clones during the Bad Batch and how that starts to phase them out. Mm-hmm. But anyway, starting with Omega.
Yeah.
Let's stick with her for a second.
Right. So
I think she is the last clone from that strand. I truly think that is, and I think they purposely made her for a reason. That reason we don't know yet. The speculation for me would be they were trying to create, I'm not going to say another flawed clone. I think they were trying to specifically cast a clone with force sensitivity of some kind. And she is wearing the headpiece that, like the Camino Owen?
I think it's Kaminoan.
Kaminoan? Yeah.
Or Kaminoans.
Kaminoan sounds better. I don't know.
It's one of the two.
Yeah, we'll figure that out post. But one of the, we see her wearing it, or the Camino head scientist in the Clone Wars, and in Attack of the Clones, we see them wearing this like head dress thing with that. I don't know if it's a stone or what it is in the middle. But
it looks like the headpiece worn by the princess in Neverending Story. That's what it looks like.
That, yeah. Too bad we don't get that connection. Sorry.
No, we don't.
Sorry,
we don't.
Perhaps
she's a princess.
One. She could be the princess, or she could have been cloned to become. No, that doesn't make sense because they're not the cloners. She's a clone. She can't be the cloner if you're the clone, right?
She's the clonee.
Yeah.
She's the product.
Right. You wouldn't ever become part of the government for that, would you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends on who the added host is. So my theory, which I have seen now, I came up with it the other day, and then, of course, doing some internet research, I wasn't the first person to think of it or find the same pictures to, support the theory, and that is that it's somehow related to Palpatine. I know we've already been down this route before, but the hairstyle in the trailer, this is not a sturdy branch to stand on. But
go on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand. Well, the last sturdy branch I didn't stand on was Luke being in The Mandalorian, and that actually turned out to be okay. So, and I actually thought that Rey was a Palpatine after seeing Force Awakens, because she did the stabby fight style that he had in Revenge of the Sith. But nevertheless, the style, the hairstyle, the blonde. First of all, Jango has dark hair. All of the clones have dark hair.
Right.
So, which it could be just a normal mutation. Fine. That's possible. Except brown hair is dominant if you're being scientific about it, which the Kaminoans would be scientific about it.
That's not our science, though. That's Star Wars science.
What?
It might be different.
Star Wars science is probably more advanced than our science. They're cloning humans. So I would say they're further along than we are.
So maybe blonde hair is dominant.
No, that's not how it works. It could be. Maybe. But let's just spitball the theory. So we all know that Palpatine experimented with clones a lot and screwed up a lot. And it's known that Rey's dad, whether you like the sequel trilogy or not, it is canon. Rey's dad was a clone of Palpatine
with no force
no force powers, because he was and we know that the ones that were force sensitive come out all disfigured and horrible looking, but the non-force sensitive ones were more successful. So blonde hair makes me think that Palpatine's involved somewhere. It wouldn't be surprised to see that he submitted his DNA to start a line where maybe she is the last of his line that he started, because the Camino it's their business to make clones, like not just for the army, not just for the Republic, but like that's their business.
Yeah, they had one order that was large.
It was substantial.
Large order.
Substantial. But that doesn't mean that they're not making clones for other people. And
that's why I think the cloning ends. That's why I think we're going to meet Omega when they are going to Camino to destroy
the cloning facility.
Yeah, she might be the last clone ever.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they roll this out.
So then you would have to speculate then.
Because why would the Emperor, for instance, once he gives Order 66, right, and decides that I'm going to go for normal, like human recruits, not just humans, but like any recruit. So when does that idea come through, and then he just looks at it and says, I don't want them to ever be able to build an army to come up against me? Because what if the Rebel Alliance made a clone order?
Where are they getting the money from?
Listen, they had senators from multiple star systems they're rich people, potentially.
Maybe.
Alderaan was just giving ships to the rebellion,
and then it got blown up. And then it got blown up.
Well, that happens. Multiple star systems were really in the rebellion, so they could have been fun. Like, what if he was worried about that fun though? Like, even if you think, wow, if I could talk, even if you think that it wasn't going to happen, like, you prepare for the worst, right? And if you're the Emperor, he's like, oh, that's not happening, so I'm taking them down.
And then he's just going to take some of the scientists and do the cloning himself separately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's certainly possible. That's the beauty of theories.
Yes.
Is we can come up with anything.
Did I wow you? Did I surprise you with that one?
Kind of. I've seen some things going around online about like some sort of Night Sister hybrid, because she's got the Night Sister bow.
I've seen that also. Like, they're trying to make her,
and that would be cool. But there's like three. There's like two Night Sisters left.
Yeah,
we know of Marin, so I don't know if there's any other Night Sisters out there who you would blend to make a clone. So I don't. She does the bow is very Night Sister E.
Yeah, with the energy on the back end.
Yeah, shooting the blaster bolts at it, but nothing about her appearance.
No,
comes across as
not at all
as a blend of Night Sister at all. So now maybe we'll be surprised, but
I'm sure they're going to go some way where it'll be a surprise for a lot of people. I feel like they do their best to, I'm not going to say counter the theories in some ways, but definitely not make it obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So, very excited to see what Omega brings to the table.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's interesting watching the trailer, because what is the purpose of, like, who's directing them, or maybe they're directing themselves. But what is their end goal? What is their end mission, right? And that's, I think, the biggest thing to speculate on.
I think it has something to do. Omega has to play a big role, so I'm assuming it's going to come into a protection / deliver situation.
I don't like escort missions.
Well, you know,
I hope
you get in a lot of trouble doing them. Have you seen The Mandalorian?
I have. I have.
Every week it's a new problem.
That's true. I'm hoping that there's some sort of, like you were saying about maybe the end of cloning. Maybe it's there. Maybe they go around and start sabotaging cloning facilities, or because like the bunker they blow up. I mean that could just be a bunker, I suppose, or I assume it's a bunker. But maybe they end up sabotaging, the cloning experiments. Maybe they're, like you were saying, they're taking it offline, they're taking it off world and doing it elsewhere. We saw it in The Mandalorian, the end of season 2. Yeah. That they're doing cloning on the Outer Rim planets.
Yep.
So, and that's where they are. I think that's where they're going to end up, is in the Outer Rim. I know that's where Zagaria is located. So they're already out there. I mean, it wouldn't be far-fetched for them to end up in one of those situations where they've taken the cloning off world. So, do you have any other theories?
Nothing crazy. I mean, we didn't get a whole lot from the trailer, other than we saw a new character. We saw all the Bad Batch except for Crosshair and a lot of it. And we saw some old characters like Rex and Tarkin coming back. So I'm just curious to see what they do with it, and can't wait for it.
I think we'll have a lot more to talk about after the first couple episodes.
I mean, yeah, at this point, May the 4th will happen, and we'll record right after that.
Either that, or we'll wait for the first 2 episodes and maybe do it the next
together.
Week and do an episode 1 and 2.
100 minutes to cover.
It'll be hard to recap 100 minutes, but we'll see. Maybe we do a special episode 1, episode 2 recapping episode 1 midweek next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, that'll lead us into I guess other news and updates, of which there aren't a ton. I kind of already touched on the newest books released today, actually. Ascendancy, Greater Good, and Chaos Rising. But as far as other stuff, the only other big toy collectible update, there's some Lego releases this weekend on May 1st, in time for May the 4th. As far as there's a new R2-D2 Lego set. The only thing special about it is the 50th anniversary Lucasfilm.
You have to get that
brick.
You have to.
I'm not paying $200 for a printed, I'll pay $200 for other things, but I'm not paying for one printed brick.
It's pretty awesome, though.
It is cool. I mean, it is cool to see that it's the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm. I don't know that some people know that.
Well, that's why
Lucas made some movies before
Star Wars.
Before Star Wars.
Yeah,
they weren't necessarily.
I'm excited to see what May the 4th brings us for the 50th anniversary for action figures, just because we already have some. I mean, if you look at the shelves behind you, like we've got the Phantom Menace that came out with the 50th. We've got some of the Archive series that came out with the 50th anniversary logo on them already, and I'm curious to see what else they do. I'm sure I don't doubt that they'll have some exclusive that's going to be big. I do think that Tech's going to come out because he's the only member of the Bad Batch that we have not seen yet in action figure form. And yeah, from there, it's just about, not Tech, Echo.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
But he's the only member of the Bad Batch we have not seen yet. So I expect him to come out next. Outside of that, I'm not sure who we're going to get out of that show. Well, Omega. I
bet they're going to pump out an Omega.
I don't know how you don't. And then
I bet they do a Fennec.
Well, I don't know. They could do her for the Mando line that they have out right now, or they could, or both.
They could do both.
Oh
my God!
Gosh,
money.
They know I would buy both. So, but super excited to see what figures come out. Hasbro has their own live stream going on May the 4th for a fan fest kind of, a Pulse First or whatever they call it. But pretty excited about that. And then other than that, I mean, Bad Batch starts May the 4th. Everything May the 4th.
Yeah, the next 3 months will be jam full of content.
I mean, yeah, the rest of the year for Star Wars, we've got
You got Kenobi in the fall.
Bad Batch, Visions, Kenobi, and then the Book of Boba.
Oh, that's right. Book of Boba comes out in December.
Yeah,
Forgot about
and
that
then
one.
and then Mando 3 is after that.
That's right.
Yeah, really excited stuff. I mean,
There's a ton of stuff.
we got a ton of stuff, and can't wait to start it all with all of our listeners. Should be a great time.
Yeah. Well, do we want to share where people can find us on social media?
Yeah, we should do that. That'd be a good idea. So, personally, you can find me at JediJohn4 on Twitter, and that's really where we're going to find most of the show cast at this point.
Yeah.
Is on Twitter. So we've got, like I said, JediJohn4.
You can find me personally at obi _ Sean, SEAN _ Kenobi, with a 0 as the O, because, the normal Kenobi was taken. But more importantly, you can find the show at Forced Diet Pod. Real simple. So, hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah, we're just starting there.
We
So,
are. We'll be sharing, theory posts, all sorts of media, etc.
Yep,
Yeah,
everything.
it'll be
We'll
fun.
Sharing whatever.
It'll be fun.
Yep. Well, lots of fun. If you want to hear anything specific, just hit us up on there.
Yeah.
And then with that,
Share your favorite theories with us.
Yeah.
What you think, what you hope to see. Let's build that community. So,
yeah, that's it right now.
I mean,
right?
yeah, that's it. Until next time, may the force be with you.